The Team House with your hosts, Jack Murphy and David Park.
Pretty sneaky.
John, maybe we could
well, hell, let's just go for it. The war stories, man. I think that there'd be some benefit in kind of like walking people through going out on a patrol, going across the fence, what that whole experience was like, kind of preparing for it, going over the border and running recon. I don't know if there's a particular operation that you would be interested in talking about. One that comes to my mind, of course, is that terrifies me when I read about it in your book. When you guys got pushed, when you got pushed up into the draw and the NVA set the elephant grass on fire around you. Just makes me nervous as hell just reading about it.
Well, you know, that was small potatoes compared to the Lynn Black. Well, in our case, we got inserted on Christmas Day, and it was on a little knoll. And the knoll was really steep on the west and the south side. We couldn't go down. It was just too steep. So we landed, we go east, it's elephant grass. And we're heading to the jungle. We had only been on the ground maybe 20, 30 minutes. I forget now. But our point man made contact, minimal. We came back, and the northwest side was too steep, and it was quiet up at the northeastern side. So Lynn Black said, you know, we could go there, but it's too quiet. And then we had a radio report that came in, said, we have an intelligence report. Now, mind you, we're on the ground. And the intel report says, do not go to the northeast. There's an ambush waiting for you. It turned out that the Frenchman was in another target. He picked up radio transmission of the NVA talking about RT Idaho. They
Holy
knew it was
shit.
Us in their AO.
By name.
Doug heard them talking. He told Spider, and Spider tells me, and Lynn and I had already figured that was the one last option if we were going to try to continue, but we had made the contact, so we're compromised. And then that was the most historic mission for us because of that radio contact. But so with the firefight going on, we had hand grenades, and they sparked flames in the elephant grass. And this fire was coming up the mountain at us, and at one point, Lynn Black and Bubba were putting C4 charges in to literally try to blow the fire back down the mountain to gain some time. And we could not leave the peak. It was too steep on each side. We knew the northeast had an ambush. And so we were battling the fire. And at one point, you could look through the flames and see two NVA stand there at Port Arms looking at us. Like going, hey, what are you guys doing? It's going to be crispy critter time. Well, luckily, Captain Tuong, the King Bee pilot, came down the mountain sideways, and the prop wash blew back the flames. We jumped on and left, and the whole hilltop was overcome with flames. It's just an amazing moment in time. But that is wimpy compared to Lynn Black. Now, here's the mission where Lynn was on the team. They had a new team leader who came in from 10th Group. He didn't understand guerrilla warfare, but he was a team leader because he's a senior NCO. So the day before, they did a visual reconnaissance, and they're flying a visual reconnaissance in a small South Vietnamese Air Force, two pilot, co-pilot, and they're doing a visual reconnaissance. A 51 Mike opened up, went around, went through the cabin, took the pilot's head off with his helmet, which landed in Lynn Black's lap. And then, needless to say, they left the AO, went right back. But that was the target they were going into. The next day, they launched, and the first helicopter went in with the 1-0. Lynn was on the second helicopter. They had a total of 9 men. Well, Lynn saw the NVA flag flying. Lynn had a previous tour of duty with the 173rd. He knew that if there's a flag, there's at least a battalion. 3,000. He talks to this team leader, and the guy goes, no gook's going to run me off my mission. So he didn't listen to Lynn, who knew what was going on. Then he committed a mortal sin. He told the team to go down a trail. So they had argued for this. They argued about going down the trail. They finally go down the trail. They're going downhill, and the hill had on the right, about 30 or 40 feet high, and there was an L. Well, the NVA put 50 soldiers up there. And when they walked down, they opened fire. They killed the point man, who was a good South Vietnamese point man. They killed the 1-0 who made the mistake, and they wounded a third guy who died later that day. And they were in the firefight. And that firefight went on for all day. Now, in that 50 people, when I interviewed Lynn for the book, Lynn goes, I remember shooting some people. They would spin around. I had to shoot them a second and a third time. Well, this mission went on for the entire day, where they stacked up so many dead bodies that when they did a wave attack, they used the dead NVA soldiers to sit behind that. When they ran out of ammo, they started using NVA gear and equipment and rounds. And at one point, Lynn got knocked out by a hand grenade, and the impact was so severe that it knocked him unconscious, destroyed his car 15, and they woke him up. He got back on his feet and carried on. That day, we lost 2 King Bees. A Jolly Green Giant got shot down. And then ultimately, at the end of the mission, a Jolly Green came down and hovered and just went literally chopped trees down to hover in the jungle while Lynn and his team went out. And they got to the helicopter, and they found the Air Force pilot of the Jolly Green that got shot down and his door gunner. And they were able to get them all back to the helicopter, and they were going up the lift, and Lynn went back to the teammate who was wounded, and the guy said, give me your 45. So Lynn gave him a 45, and then as Lynn was running back to the helicopter, the guy killed himself because he knew the NVA were coming. And when Lynn's running back to the helicopter, 2 NVA come out with their AKs and say, Chu Hoi, meaning surrender. And Lynn just kept coming. They were young soldiers. And Lynn just charged them, grabbed their AKs, knocked the one guy out with the AK, hit the other guy in the face, and he burned his hands because the AK-47s were hot from them shooting at the helicopter. He gets lifted up, gets hoisted out. 30 years later, when they're going back for the body of that 1-0, Lynn got a phone call from a North Vietnamese general who said, I ambushed you that day. And he said, I was a colonel then. I set up the ambush. They're talking back and forth. And so finally, Lynn goes, that was a bad day. We lost 3 men. That guy goes, a bad day for us. We had 90% casualties. Lynn goes, 90%? He goes, yeah, between the air, because we had SPADs, fast movers, the door gunners, the helicopter gunships, At one point, when Lynn and his team was behind the dead bodies, they had a wave attack come, and there was a next wave attack. The helicopter came down from the muskets and hovered and opened fire on the pending wave attack, then pulled out to help defend them. That's the kind of protection they had that day. And so the general goes, yeah, you inflicted 90% casualties. And Lynn goes, well, we saw the flag. That was a battalion, right? And the guy goes, no. It was an NVA division. I had 10,000 men there, and you inflicted 90% casualties. Then the general goes, hey, who was the guy standing up in the ambush? And Lynn goes, that was me. He says, you shot me 3 times. So that's one of the classic all-time SOG stories, in my opinion.
Bring
him back.
For what it's worth, mine too, John. I was rereading that story today when I was going through your book and looking at the highlights I made. Man, what do you like that mission where that you were describing that you were on, where the elephant grass was on fire? You were all down to, as I recall, 1 magazine apiece. That was all you had left. You had
at that mission there, I wasn't that low. The day twice I remember. There were times when I went through 600 plus rounds down to the last magazine. That was Echo 4 on October 7th, where we had been in contact for several hours, and we had stacked up some bodies there, but nothing like what Lynn had. And That was when we came out when we got pulled out. He hovered. We threw the guys to the helicopter, and I was the last guy in. And then we let go to the last magazine and the last hand grenade. And we had been in contact for about 4 hours.
I mean, you told me about how many radio antennas did you have shot off your back during the war?
No, only two that I can recall.
Only two.
Only at this moment in time. Yeah, we had the long antenna up, and they got shot off.